Looks like we're live and running. Welcome to the Mythruna weekly live stream every Friday at 9 p.m. GMT minus 4 until next week, which will be GMT minus 5 because we hit daylight savings time, or we get off of daylight savings time, hopefully for the last time. So I wasn't really sure what the topic of this stream was going to be because it's the new release cycle. I just got the release out last week, and we'll go ahead and thank the patrons while we're here. Look, I got fancy. I got title cards and stuff. So that'll be fun. Again, yes, thanks to my patrons. It means a lot to me. I lost a patron last month, and I got like very sad. And but then like I gained 2 more and lost another one and gained another one. So it makes me feel good to know that people out there actually care. Even if they can only care for $1 or something, it all means something. And it does help defer some of my server costs and stuff, so it's good. So tonight I think we're gonna play around with some performance stuff. So we'll go ahead and start getting to it then. So the long and the short of it is one of the big things I want to accomplish this release, which I'm trying to make a Thanksgiving release, but frankly, if it doesn't have a lot of stuff in it, I might push it off till Christmas. But then again, if I get some like really short-term goals done, I can already see I'm gonna want to turn the music down a little bit more. If I can get some really short-term goals done, performance-wise, I might cut a release before then. Those of you who played the game over the network know that, clicking blocks can be kind of slow. Even in single player, if I place a block, it takes a second. Click, it takes it a second. Like quarter of a second or so. It's worse over the server, and the reason that is because none of that is optimized. Old Mythruna, when you were on the client and you clicked a block down, it placed it immediately in your local world, sent a message to the server at the same time, and then if the server disagreed, it would send you like a correction. So so if you placed a block and you weren't allowed to, it would look like it placed locally, and then the server would say no, and it would remove it. A neat side effect of that was that you could actually let the server not tell the client that, and the client could think that he was placing all kinds of blocks, when as far as the server was concerned, he wasn't. And that was kind of fun to play with griefers. I called it nerfing. You could nerf a griefer from the server admin console. You could nerf them, and it would look like they would think that they're placing blocks, but they weren't actually. They would think that they were deleting blocks, but they weren't actually. And I had one like chasing me around trying to like wreck the world and stuff, and he thought he was wrecking the world, but I'm just laughing at him. So that was kind of fun. But this version of Mythruna doesn't do that. When I click a block, it calls a script, and it's executing the right mouse button script for the build wand. So it executes a script, and that places the block in the world, and then we get the notification that it placed it, and it goes. By doing it that way, I made sure everybody could see the same things and everything was working. But it's slow, obviously, and lacks some finesse in other areas too. So what's supposed to happen is when we click this, the tool that calls that script is supposed to know that we're a build wand and that we're going to be placing a block, for the same reason that when we bring this up, it knows what block we have selected, even though really only the server needs to know that. But that it would modify the local world and then also send the script and stuff, and then if we got corrections, we'd get those back and we'd undo them. So anyway, but before I do that, I want to see if there's some other performance problems that I've managed to build in by accident. Let me give us some more daylight. So I want to make sure that there's not a performance issue on the back channel. So if something placed, 500 blocks here or 50 blocks here, that we would get them all at once and not as 50 separate messages. I'm pretty sure that that's working okay, but before I go to the trouble of fixing the client server send stuff, which is bound to be really tricky, I thought, well, maybe I'll make sure somehow that if I placed a bunch of blocks at once, they all come through as kind of one event, and it's not super slow and doesn't slow the client down. And conveniently, I'm also in the situation where I've been playing with the tree stuff, and so if I have a tree here, I can place the tree, but that's actually a block object. I can drag it around and move it. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if this being a tree, if I could right-click on it and say, turn into blocks, and so it would just put this tree here all as blocks, which is more or less what's going to happen when the tree, if I make this tree physical and it falls down. Eventually that's funny. Eventually the branches will crush and it'll lay flat. Man, it's so massive. And it'll lay flat, and those blocks should eventually kind of arrange themselves back into scattered stuff on the grass, maybe like the leaves and stuff turn back into regular blocks, so that I don't have to maintain 100 different tiny objects. Something to that effect. At any rate, I want to be able to, it seemed like an easy test to do, to be able to take this and turn it back into a block object in the world. And that would tell me, if I could do that in one pass with a tree, it would tell me, that if it comes through as one event back to the client, or two, depending on whether I split it across a node or so, that'll tell me if that back channel is working okay. It might be kind of interesting to see the scripting in that anyway. So we'll exit the game. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to turn down the ambient and effect volume, and maybe turn down the music a little bit more. Sorry, taking a sip of my cold beverage. Okay, so now when we run the game again, it should be quieter. And so then the next thing we want to do is find our base objects. I believe base objects at Groovy is where I defined the. So we've got the axe that places the tree, or that turns the tree into a blueprint, and then we don't actually give it an object type, do we? Or when we place it, it becomes a default object. Perhaps this is not as straightforward as I thought it was going to be, because those trees that we place, what information do we get about them? So while I'm on the subject of the world stuff, the other reason that the world doesn't automatically support clicking through in local and stuff like that is because I purposely set the client server part up so that you had to call, but that's pretty, that you had to call a script on the back end to do it, so that, like, any random client couldn't just start poking things into the world. You had to do it through the game itself. Let's see. I think what I want to do is click the bit tool, and I want to see, what does it tell me? Yeah, it doesn't tell me the object type. I was hoping it would tell me the object type. See, build wand, context action. Or well, look. Yeah. Anyway. That is interesting. When we place a blueprint, we don't get the ability to set its object type. Anyway, what I could do is, I think that the axe All right, let me show you what I was talking with the world. I'm all over the place. I apologize. So world has, this is the open source part, com, some silica, and world that'll be open source as part of the MOS open source libraries. It handles the client server networking, or if you just have a world local, it handles the local stuff. But it has set world cell, and you can pass it a location in the cell you want it to set. In the client server stuff, if we go over to the world client part, you can see in the set world cell, I just throw an unsupported operation exception. Because I don't, by default, I don't want the client to be able to just poke random stuff anywhere in the world. They have to call an action on the server, do it through game logic. And that's fine. This could always be overridden by a subclass if they wanted to support more stuff. So I've added this second method, which is set local world cell, which is kind of neat. That will let us completely set local cells when I implement it, obviously. Completely set local cells different from the world, which could be used for even temporarily placing blocks for cutouts of trees and rock and stuff. While the server might still consider those things solid, we can temporarily take them out and replace them with an object that's being chopped away or something. It gives us flexibility. Where was I going with that? Oh yes. And then so the next thing we'll look at is on the client side. In the tools, we have this action input state, which it knows the different tools. I think the axe is just a hand at the moment. I'm jumping all over. When you define an object, so we define it's a base item. You can define its, if we find base item up here, it defines a default tool, I think. Okay, base object has no tool. Base item is an object manipulator by default. So if we go up here, object manipulator is a hand, yeah. So anything that wants to manipulate objects in the world uses that hand tool, which has all of the default kind of scripting and logic to move objects around by grabbing them. And when the physical objects can be grabbed and picked up, it'll have logic in there for that. So anything, if you had this selected, right click will drag and do context menus and things, which is what most players would get used to in the world. And so that's the default for, if you had nothing in your hands, that would also do the same thing, and then left click would be just whatever default action. So axe is a base item, and base item is an object manipulator, which means axe has all of the things that the hand tool can do. Where's axe? Yeah, so axe has all the things that the hand tool can do. And if we go over back and look at, so it does everything, so that's the hand manipulator. If we look at the hand manipulator, we can see all the different things it supports. If you right click on an object, it'll do the context action with the object. If you alt is the right click, left click is the main. So if you right click on a block location, it'll do the alt click block. If you left click main press object, so on and so forth. So what happens is when we left click with the axe right now, when we left click on a block, such as a tree trunk, it will, where to go? So if we left click, that's a main block click. It will find what cell we clicked on, make sure it's a tree, find the tree, and then turn that into an object, make a blueprint from it. Eventually it will just turn it into an object because we're chopping it down. So that's the idea, is that left click eventually will be, whatever tool manipulation allows you to swing the axe. Right now we just click it. But that means that if we left clicked on an object, we could get a scripting event for that too, because the hand supports that. So we could use our axe to both, or we place it on a block. We could use the right click on a block to place like the last tree we picked up or something. But I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, that's like we get too deep in the hacking and it starts to get a little weird. So let's say if we right click on a block that we want to place a tree, it'll be temporary. And we would, it's going to be, oops, it's going to be a point and a block. So first what we'll do is we'll implement the method add action, oops, alt click block, and it's going to take a, is it a, we'll just do this, or just loc and block. Actually, it's going to be the same method signatures. They're same action signatures this one, so we'll just steal that. And then we'll echo loc block, just to make sure it's working. Let's try it out. I'm going to cancel because this is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to alt-click object. Like if we placed a tree down, I can't read. Okay. Main click object, and it's going to be is that really what I want? No, let's go back to this idea. We'll look up the most recent tree blueprint. I think I call them tree, so we should be able to find it. Okay, in which case we can test what we were doing. Sorry I'm all over the place, guys. Is there anybody still watching? Have I lost everyone? Alright, so we'll go in here. Alright, so that's the... Alright, let's give us some light. Okay, so if I had the axe selected, and if I were to left click on a tree, it would chop it down. Yeah, but it's not doing anything now, so yeah, see, chop terrain tree null. And if I right click on it, it's going to tell me in text I can't read, location, and block. Okay, so it is that, so our script is working. What we want to do is we want to find the most recent tree that we have as a blueprint. I think I can steal other code to do that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we don't need hand manipulator. We need base objects. So the same thing that the blueprint editor, or the the object tool uses to select a blueprint. I think we have some code in here that loads the blueprint. Find entities. Blueprint info. Yeah, so this finds all the blueprints of the player. With extra white space. No excuses, speed. Yeah. Well, now I don't know which I don't have excuses for now. I ramble on so much. Okay, so, and really we want to let's put this after main click block. Okay. So we've got that. We echo that. Let's find blueprints, blueprints is empty. Yeah, we don't want object focus or anything. We just found the blueprints. What is in blueprint info? We could go look at the blueprint info. I think we can just get its name. Yeah, cool. Okay, so this is going to be hackery, cloldildry. Yeah. Oh, the lag, yeah. So actually what we want to do is def tree equals blueprints find it name starts with tree, I think. Let's go see what the axe is doing up here. Yeah, create tree. Tree and tree. It's going to either be tree or start with tree, either one. And then we echo tree blueprint and we print the tree. Okay, let's make sure that's working. Yes, I do start the tool a lot, or start the game a lot. So you get to hear that first 5 seconds of the music a lot. If there's ever a random selection of music when we start the game, it'll be because I've had to hear the same piece of music so many times that I decided to add a little bit more variety. Alright, it's going to be dark again because we haven't quite made it to daytime yet. But let's see. Ooh, I hear an owl. One interesting thing is I accidentally left the debug code in that puts those red boxes wherever a sound is playing. And so sometimes you'll see in the trees or in the grass, and probably not in the grass, but in the trees sometimes you'll see a red box appear. That's where that a lot of the bird sounds and stuff. If you go into the sounds, those are all supposed to be ambient sounds, but if you go into the sound settings, you can go in and you can turn off the ambient. It'll just have the effects, and you'll be able to hear that the random owl sounds and chirping. So right now there's 2 sounds playing. I can see up here that there's 2 sounds playing. None of them are owls or birds, but oh, there's one. I hear an owl screeching. So sometimes you can spot the. Anyway, back to what we're doing. Sometimes you can spot the box in the tree. I need to take it out, but it's kind of cool. All right. So if we right-click on a spot on the ground, oh, we found a blueprint. Excellent. So that's 4300. Let's see if that's the same blueprint as this object, because that's really what I want. Look. Nope, that's 6446. So it just happens to be a different one in our row, but whatever. I don't have a way to delete blueprints yet. So we definitely got the right blueprint. Temporarily, I guess we could place it down. The object tool for placing an object, it would get the selected blueprint. Is that a blueprint info? Shape. Oh, that's an. That's the entity, which is also what we got, as a matter of fact. So I should be able to just cut and paste this code down here. For the, I need to get rid of that test someday. So we ought to be able to say, just for a second, just to see which tree we're placing down. Yeah. Do. You know, one of the other issues, I haven't really decided what's going into the Thanksgiving release yet. I kind of decided too late what I should have put into the Halloween release, so I wanted to give it a little thought and also pick stuff that I think I can actually get done. But I thought it'd be fun for the Thanksgiving release for the end of November to have plants and at least enough animal stuff to do livestock, you know, like chickens and or pen ducks or whatever that Mythruna is going to have. Let's fast forward the time a little bit. But I need to like scope it properly. But I wanted to do this performance thing because it's just going to get critical after a while. Okay, so if we right click, aha, okay, so that's that little tree. Okay, but it's, should be able to delete it? No. Okay, I'd have to select the different object to delete it. That's fine. We, delete the object. Okay, so we picked a tree, and that's fine. That'll work for us. It doesn't have to be the cool tree, although that would have been a lot nicer. But oh well. When we're hacking things, we can't always win. Okay, so... And actually, this is doing a lot for us already, because instead of... excuse me while I crack my neck. Instead of doing all that stuff, we just wanted the cells. And I think then all we need to do is something like cells is going to be a cell array. Cell array is part of mblock, which is another part of the open source stuff. And so cell array has get size x, size y, size z. And we'll go ahead and do this. We'll say x equals 0, x less than cells size x. Oops. X plus plus. Do one of these kind of loops. And this will be y. Size y. This will be z. Size z. Although quite frequently I will invert these because x and z are, you know, map coordinates and y is up and down, and sometimes it's nice to build things in columns. It doesn't really matter in this case. Val equals cells dot get cell x y z, and then world set world cell. Let's see. We want loc dot add xyz val. I think that's all we need to add this tree to the world where we click. Tell you what though, we're about to find out. So basically we're iterating over the x, y, and z axes of that particular cell array and copying its data. Oh man, we're going to copy it without regard for zeros. Haha. So it's going to clear out. If we click in the wrong place, it'll clear out ground, which would be kind of fun. That's not really what I wanted to do, but it'll show the same. It'll test the what we're testing. Which would be amazing if we get that done halfway through the... Yeah, I shouldn't have said that because now it's going to fail, right? Okay, so select the axe, which in this case is going to place a tree, and right click. What's it going to do? Oh no, it did. It placed a tree, and look, it all came through at once. I mean, I'm getting a million events down here. What are leaf change, leaf change, leaf change, leaf change? That is not good. In the world view state, why am I getting so many leaf change messages? I mean, the data came through all at once. We rebuilt it all at once, and then I saw a million change messages. So what I was talking about with the I don't check for zeros or anything, if I place the tree here, it's going to clear out some of the land here. Yeah, see? It carved it out. But that's working, and actually that one worked a lot better. We didn't get a bajillion events. Let's try over here. I'm still getting a bajillion events, but they must only be on the client side. Oh yeah, and terrain state is getting a ton. It's not supposed to work that way. So I mean, I've gummed something up, but everything seems to be working okay too. Like even the frame rate's not bad. Okay, so something's going on, but that's kind of cool that that works. Oh look, I'm pushing trees out of the way. Okay, they gotta like, we gotta see her do that, right? Oh, she rode it like a sled. She's carrying an axe around, pushing trees around. It's Fade Bunyan. Alright. And the big one. Let's see, can we jump up on it? Can I stand on the tree? I can. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Whoops, I'm caught in the leaves. Oh, that's too cool. Okay, that was a solid one. That's too cool. Okay, so that's working. But it's now inconclusive. We can place a tree down, and I can fix the zeroing problem. We can place a tree down. It does everything we want except for it sends a ton of events. So we need to figure out why that is. Yeah, I mean it is cool that she can run around on the trees. I just love it. When the physics engine is working well, it's just so much fun. You know, when it's going crazy, not so much fun. And I have a feeling that at least 4 or 5 times a month I'm going to curse the physics engine as we go. But alright, so let's start looking into why we get a bajillion events on the server. It's not on the client and the server. Oh no, maybe I was wrong about that. Oh no, it's the train states. Yeah, change tile, change tile, change tile. See, we shouldn't have gotten all of those. Something is... Oh. You know what? I think I actually have a task for this. Let's see, let's search for transaction. Whoops. It helps if you spell it correctly. Oh, good old mouse wheel undid my transaction. Nope. Event. Filter leaf related change events by client interest. Yes, I do need to do that. Collect tile change events into batches. That sounds familiar. Yeah, now we're out, but there's something to do with start edit, end edit. Oh no, that's for, I know what that is. That's not what this is. Local edits versus world edits is what we're really wanting to work on. But before we do that, I wanted to see if I could fix some other things. But what's happening is, so I added stuff in the world. So let's go to world, the default world implementation, which would be in base, default world. So here we are in default world. We set the World.cell. World transaction. So yeah. So when we set a World.cell, there's a chance that it's going to change a bunch of stuff around it. And so we start a transaction, and whatever we modify in there as far as redoing the lighting, any fluid flows that need to happen and stuff, we put them as part of that transaction. And then when the transaction is done, we fire just what changes that part of that transaction. So this is what I thought was going to save us. but because I'm calling setWorldCell for each one of those changes, they're all going to get their own separate transaction. What we need is the ability to create a transaction, call setWorldCell with our own transaction, and then at the end, send all those events out. And the reason I care about this is because once you get to the point where on the client things click faster, you're going to be potentially clicking, click super fast, or removing things super fast. And I want to try to accumulate those into batches of events rather than sending them all back singly. Though obviously the case we're doing now, where we're plopping a whole tree into the world, is kind of an extreme example, and it turns out to work fine. But I just worry if like a bunch of players are editing the world in the same area you're in, that we would rather not have it send 100 separate events. Can I fix this? The only reason I actually can, but the only reason I'm hesitant is because I'd be modifying the MWorld API, and I learned from my Lemur live stream a few weeks ago, where I was editing the API of Lemur, that I don't do so well thinking straight while I'm talking on a live stream. And so I'm trying to think if I want to build this as part of, so like right now, when we're done, we go through all this and we let the transaction, we ask the transaction what changed, and we fire the events inside the world because we know what the listeners are. But I start to wonder if I should invert that and let the transaction, well, you know what? So I'll mention right now, I was going to say nobody is using this library yet because I haven't actually released it publicly. But I will say that any of you that are patrons can have access to this MWorld code, or the MOS libraries. This is the code we're looking at right now. This second is open source. It's just not released yet, but it is available early access to patrons. So if you wanted to play around with it, there has been already some people who've played with it, and somebody's even making a game with some of the stuff. So that is available. What I think I'm going to do then is make a version of setWorldCell. Well, first let me see. Let's cheat for a second. I want to see what implementation of world I'm using on the back end of Mythruna and whether it's wrapped by something. So I will temporarily add an echo here. Echo world implementation world.getClass. Alright, so we'll cheat. Well, it'll take us less time than going through the code. We'll just run it and see what's running. We guaranteed not to be wrong too. So bye bye Pepsi. Alright. So select the axe. Equip it. Let's put another tree right here. Yep. World implementation is default world. Yeah! So if we modify that one, we don't even have to make it part of the public API technically. It can be because we may want to have some like transactional world interface. What I'm talking about is there's this world interface which is very simple, and it's got listeners and stuff, but what I want to do is add the setWorldCell and maybe some other later modification stuff that will take a transaction and then another method to call to fire the listeners for all the transactions. And I didn't want to expose that in the world interface yet because I might want to have like a transactional world interface. I don't want to have to make these decisions today on whether that's a good or a bad idea. So what we will do is we will make this one int results call. Okay, first of all, we will predictably create a transaction so that we can call the one that's about to take one, type transaction. Okay, and then we will call deliver events transaction, a method that doesn't exist yet. And in here, world transaction. So anybody calling the old style set world will still get a new transaction one, and they'll call the other set world, and then they'll deliver the events. And so what we're going to do is in this one we're going to pass a transaction, so we no longer have to create one because one is provided to us. And at the end of this method, we do not want to fire events automatically. We're done right here. And so we'll return new value. That method's done. But now we need a new deliver transactions. Did I spell that right? Yep. World transactions, transaction. Okay. So now we have a separate method that lets us set a world cell, and eventually this will have a bunch of other logic in it, or a chain, more of a chain of logic rather. So we'll set the world cell. That'll just set it, add it to the transaction, and move on. Then separately we can deliver the transactions. And so what that means is in our script, we want to, well, first let's make sure that compiles while I'm thinking about it. Gradle install. Make sure I didn't screw something up. Happens quite frequently. I did, see? Deliver events, okay. Deliver events. What did I call it? Deliver events, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're not delivering transactions. I do that a lot. I get fixated on the thing I'm about to pass. Okay, and when there is no, whoops. There is no return value from this one, okay. So we're good to go there. And so now we can, from our script, we can break it up. We can create our own transaction. Say what? Oh, these warnings, I need to get rid of this someday. Missing return, default world, 168. Oh yeah. Up here, I forgot to deliver result. And what else is it complaining about? Oh, more warnings. Deprecations, actually. Yeah, in old Mythruna, the leaf data, which is the 32 by 32 by 32, what Minecraft will call a chunk, but Mythruna doesn't because it's not the same. The 32 by 32 by 32 cube that has all of the cells in it, it had a version, and if you modify that, the version would change. But now I do versions by column, and so the leaves don't have a version. So all this deprecated crap that I need to go back and remove at some point. All right. So if we go back to our script, instead of doing all these set worlds regularly, what we want to do is we want to define the transaction, new world transaction, hope that we have that imported, pass the transaction in the end, boink, and then when we're done, world deliver events transaction. So we just implemented a transactional system. Every one of these world cells is going to get added to that transaction, and when we're done, we deliver all the events at once, which will cover any of the leaves, the chunks. I hate that word. That happen to touch, and any of the fluid data and the light data and it has collected all of the different cell edits as well. So, which is kind of cool. You get like all of them together. Okay. So that should make the event stream a lot happier. And if we can get this working, it might not be a bad place to end the stream, because we learned something. All right, continue the world. And we set me up for really diving into that this weekend. Yeah, that's what I thought. I did something wrong. New world transaction. World transaction is in. Is it in base? No. Oh, it's in its own package. Okay. What I think I will do is cheat. And so, nice thing about the scripts is there's this standard include stuff where I can go ahead and add includes that I know everything will want to use, or that they shouldn't have to specify. Something I wish Java had, so I could add Java util to everything, and lately Java util function. So you can do these, and then your script doesn't have to import them; it'll just know what those are. And so, whoops, wrong. So that should add that import for us, if I did it right. So now when we start our world, all the scripts should launch okay. At least it tells you right away until when you try to waiting until you try to run the script. Alright. I mean, just makes you want to go and see what that light's all about, doesn't it? Alright, sorry. I get lost sometimes in my imagination, knowing what I want to do with the game. It's anyway. I see the over the horizon, and I wish all that was implemented so I could go run over there and play with it. So if we right-click, it should put the tree down and not dump a ton of transactions, or dump a ton of events rather. Hey, look at that! That went by very quickly. What do we get a lot of? We got a set world. Yep, we got tons of set world cell. Shoo. Create collision data. Okay, that's just a warning. I made a... Here, let me mark this for a second so that it stops moving. I made my own mesh subclass that basically if you try to call collide with on it, it just logs this warning. Funny. Import star drives me crazy. Yeah, but when you're writing a DSL, when you're writing like a domain-specific language, like a scripting language, where you want to focus on what the game wants to do, you don't want to have every script import all the things that every script's going to want. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense to have default imports in this kind of case, because I really kind of want to insulate the script developers from the fact that they're even coding in Groovy to some level. Anyway, I have this collider mesh. It basically just warns me whenever collide with is called, and this is what I use for the leaf data and stuff, so that it doesn't create collision meshes for all that stuff. So anyway, here we created the transaction. We called all these set world cells. That's fine. That's what we did to put the tree in. Tons of them. And then we only marked dirty once. Yeah, this is perfect. We got one leaf change event, one tile change event, two tile change events, a leaf change, a cell change, a couple terrain changes, but just a handful of stuff, because we may have gone over a boundary and stuff, and especially with these trees, they may have crossed the leaf boundary. We can actually see. Show grid. Yep. So yeah, we're right on the border here, so we probably crossed. We definitely crossed, whether the block crossed, and it did, actually. Okay, it didn't, but when you place a block on a border like that, it does affect the cell next to it, because masking and things. Okay, so cool. That's working. So now we have transactional stuff, and when I go to add the client-side optimizations, if I can get this done this weekend, maybe I'll cut another release. Or my ID can't figure out what the board function. Oh yeah, well, yeah, that is crazy. And it's Java. I mean, see, in Java, it's like so many things like array list and hash map. They're just so common to use in everything. And I just get frustrated having to import Java util star all the time. And lately, I tend to use a lot of consumer function, by consumer, supplier. And so half the time I end up importing Java util function star also. When I'm importing from external libraries where it might not be obvious where I got the thing, I tend to not put the star unless I'm pulling 3 or 4 in. I'm like in for a penny, in for a pound kind of thing. I think about back in the C days where you imported a library or you imported that include file, you got a whole bunch of crap with it because you're just basically, I'm using Java util. I'm using all the things about Java util. You don't have to worry about which specific one. Just know I'm using collections or whatever. You know, log4j or slf4j. I'm using all of it. Just don't worry about it. So anyway, so that's working. Transaction support is working. I cannot believe I actually got something done. And we didn't do the performance bit. But let's talk about something else, right? I've got, see, how can we do this? I don't have, yeah. I was thinking of going through the tasking and talking about what we might want to look at next time. Yeah. But I also don't want, so I worry about showing you guys this task list too detailed because there's a lot of future stuff in there. And I don't want to get it, right now I don't show it to anybody. It's not a promise. If I go and delete something from this list, nobody's going to like yell at me and give me death threats and, you know, swap my house or anything like that. So I'm hesitant, but I have started thinking about what I want to do. Really, I'm trying to get done the riskiest stuff first. And the next riskiest thing is to get that player control in where, you know, when you drag the mouse around, it moves your tool around. And there's a lot that's kind of riding on that, and I need to make a decision on it. So that's probably what I'm going to work on next. But I really wanted to get this click performance thing in. And if I can get that in and working, I might cut another release on Monday just so you guys don't have to deal with that 1 second delay when you click a block down. And maybe you guys log into the server and actually build some cool stuff then. So here's what I've got set for the, I haven't looked at this yet. These were things that were in the Halloween release that I didn't get to. Bugs and things. And if you spot something that we might want to do in the next live stream, that's cool too, because it's all open. There's these bugs. There's some other things that I want to get to, and this is kind of what we're doing now: the local edits versus world edits. And I think that's going to open up a lot of stuff for the trees, because it's like one of the last things I need to have trees implemented properly. Yeah, so there's just a bunch of stuff there. But I think that's going to be it for the live stream. I was trying to think, was there something I wanted to show you guys? You guys have played the game, most likely. I did not. Yeah, I left the console locked, so it wasn't actually finishing. Trying to think. There's something in the game I wanted to show you. It's like I thought of like the brilliant way to end the stream when we were doing something else, and then I totally spaced on it. But yeah, so I'm basically, this weekend I'm going to put together the list of things I want to get done for the Thanksgiving release and decide if that's actually going to be viable by the end of November. It's not going to be done really by Thanksgiving, though I do take that week off from work, so I should get a lot done, barring life complications. But yeah, so these are what I'm talking about. So this local world edits, that's the performance thing. Here, the real-time click and drag action support, because I really want to be able to have the player be able to drag their tools around to make them swing. And then I have to work out physics collisions and things. But to be able to like drag and, if you click the axe, you know, it'll swing the axe a default way, but it'd be able to click and drag and like have the axe chop exactly where you want, that kind of thing. I just feel like there's a bunch of almost mini games that could be made around that. It certainly makes player crafted tools have more of an impact if the, you know, the weight and shape of the tool matters, you know, how you've got the handle configured and so on. But these are kind of the things that just got copied over from the Halloween, and I may go through this and decide some of this stuff does not belong here and other things do. I really would like have some minimal creatures, even if it's just the pen ducks walking around, just to get minimal bumping around AI done, which means maybe we'll have a live stream where I go and I actually animate those pen ducks. So yeah, dragging does sound cool. I had this implemented in, just to show you a demo, I think I might have done already. Was it Netcare? Hopefully this doesn't crash. I think the last time I ran it, it crashed. It doesn't look like a good sign right there, does it? So, ooh. No, this is not the one. Is it? Maybe it's just character. Yeah, well, it needs to be a menu, and it needs to be visual. What was the... Maybe it was Netcare? Yeah, block type shapes. Yeah, in the Mythruna that was never released, that was actually a menu. You could click with the middle mouse button and then scroll through material type, and then click and then scroll through block shape, and that was kind of cool. So what is... Yeah, no, so okay, so this is the other thing. Yeah, this is not what I wanted. Though, yeah, scrolling helps with speed. Well, now you can at least scroll rotations, which is something you couldn't even reliably do in the old Mythruna. If I set it up, it would work, but gosh. So why won't this... wait. This is a way you can see what the... Yeah, I think I might have hacked one of these. It's too bad. Yeah, this is doing something else. Anyway, there was a demo where you know, I could hit the space bar and then I could drag my mouse around and Fade would swing her sword around with the mouse. And I kind of want to get to that. I would like the... You know, you bring up the block type selection. The thing is, like, rotation is something I use all the time, and to have a palette of common blocks, that would be kind of cool too. There's a bunch of different things I could do there. For me, the old system got so overwhelming that it was hard to find the blocks I needed when I needed them, and you know, so it had to be in a menu. Actually, yeah, I can't. I don't know if I can run that version of Mythruna. But yeah, I think in old Mythruna it was like control roll to select the main type, right, and then roll inside there to select the subtype. There's definitely stuff that can be done there, and I agree. It's kind of annoying at the moment. At least it supports rotations. Even in the blueprint editor, I want like the palette. So we'll see. What I end up doing, there's a trick I end up doing. I'll show you my trick real quick, because maybe you guys don't know that the C key works. So hold on a second. Real quick trick, last thing to show in the stream. If you have, like, so here. Let's say, all right, let me walk down the hill here a little bit. All right. So let's say I'm going to build a building down here. Whoa, why are you going so slow? good. That's like really not. Why is it going so slow? Yeah, what's going on here? Okay. Anyway, so like if I know I'm going to build something with shingles, maybe regular wedge, I'll place one of those down, and then, whoops, wrong one. And if I know I'm going to place maybe some wood, and maybe some posts, select, place a post down. Anyway, so then like as I'm going around I can say, okay, well I need the post, so I go over here and I select C, and then I can place a post and mouse wheel to get the actual it's interesting which okay, so I did that wrong, but that's okay. So, and then I can get those, and even, like, once I get the foundation down, I can hit C, and I know I've got that block selected. I can hit C, I know I've got that block selected. I hit C, I know I got that block selected. And then, similar thing with this. I can place that down here, and there. Oops. And there. Rotate twice, place there. But now we've got a long stretch. The point is I've got these over here that they're like a palette that I can select using C. And oops. Oop, I accidentally hit C over the grass. I was talking about it and I hit it. Oops. So anyway, you can then keep selecting the blocks you need and do things with them. So that's my trick. And I do that a lot. And it works in the blueprint editor too, I believe. If you're editing something and you hit C, like if you have this guy selected, yeah, you hit C, now it's on the leaves. You do this, now you got the trunk selected, so now that becomes your and what I'm curious what you guys think about the flashing block. I find it useful, but it's kind of distracting. It definitely tells you exactly what you're about to do, which I like. But over the old one, I got kind of used to the cruftiness of it, where you kind of had to guess, and it was out of your way and not blocking it. So I think it's better, but for us old users, it might feel annoying. I don't know. Anyhow, that is what's going on. So I'll have a better idea of what might live stream next weekend, but if you saw anything interesting in this list and you want me to live stream that, make a comment on the video or in the what's it called, Discord. And if any of you are new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe. In fact, I can I've got like fancy flash. Yeah, I kind of had it do this slow fade in and out, and that was annoying too. It needs a lot of tweaking, I agree. So anyway, I got my cool, you guys can see all the I got cool screens and stuff that I can transition. I got fancy with obs while I was waiting for the stream to start. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, etc. If you saw anything in the list that you want to talk about next time, then we can make a live stream about that too. More information online, and you can join the Discord, etc., etc. All right, thanks for joining, guys. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and thanks for coming along. All right, and I'm going to shut the stream down. And I forgot to find the button. All right, thanks again, guys. See you next time.